So I failed an exam this week. Let's talk about it. So you're probably wondering what happened. So this week we got our PSA results. Now the PSA is our prescribing exam that we have to do in order to be able to prescribe as doctors. The actual exam was about 3 weeks ago, and I felt that it had gone well. I'd studied for like a whole month on it, spending loads of time doing practice papers, and the actual exam didn't feel any harder than any of the mocks that I did, and I passed all of those. So Monday rolls around and I had a day of simulation training, which was a whole day affair, and exams were going to be released at 11 a.m. So I'm feeling confident at this point. I worked hard, it didn't feel that hard, and everything was going to be good. And the exam results were going to be rolled around 11 a.m. So the pass mark for the PSA is usually around 60 to 65%. And, obviously I'm waiting in simulation training, and then 11 a.m. rolls around and I check my phone. 47%. That is literally the worst grade I've ever gotten in med school. Mind you, I'm still in the middle of simulation teaching, so everyone else is like, check their phone, probably seen a pass, and then just carried on. And there's me sat there trying really, really hard not to cry. And yeah, that was really tricky. And I spent the rest of that day feeling really, really dumb and feeling really sorry for myself. I went home, I sat in bed, I cried, I journaled, and I ordered takeaway. So yeah, Monday was a pretty rotten day for me. I actually posted about it on my Instagram, and everyone was so lovely and so kind on there. And especially the DMs I got from other medical students and doctors who basically told me, it's okay, I've definitely failed an exam before, you'll be all right. And that was obviously really, really kind to hear, and just to feel not so alone. But it got me thinking, why don't we talk about failure more? All these people that had DM'd me, I don't think they've ever posted about when they failed an exam, and I just thought it was a bit of an odd thing. And I don't mean the kind of one where you fail an exam and then you tell like your one friend, oh no, I failed this exam. I mean like, saying it with your whole chest, or if you're like me, oversharing on social media and saying I failed an exam. And obviously that's really hard for a lot of people to do, but I just thought it's something that I don't see happening very often, especially in the medical space. And thus this video idea was born. So here we are, it's currently Saturday, and I've done a lot of thinking and a lot of reflecting, and I thought I'd share with you guys what I found out. So I wanted to discuss a few things with you guys. Firstly, medical school culture and the fear of failure. Secondly, what failure actually teaches us, and a little bit of a note on resilience. And lastly, some tips on what you can do if and when you fail something. So if that sounds like what you're interested in, please keep watching. I also just realized I've not actually introduced myself. Hello, my name is Teddy. I'm a final year medical student, and welcome to my corner of the internet, where here we are discussing about failure, and we're going to start off with number 1, medical school culture and the fear of failure. So as we all know, medical school is a bit of a funny place. You take a bunch of high achievers from school or wherever they've come in their life, and you put them all together and you grind any self-confidence or self-belief that they had into dust. I joke, but not really. That's how I feel about medical school a lot of the time. And sadly, in all the years that I've been in medical school, there's never really been much of a spotlight on failure. And failure is definitely a part of our life, so I'm surprised it's not talked about more. A lot of people will go through medical school and fail at least one thing, whether that's a written exam, a piece of coursework, or an OSCE. It doesn't matter. I'm sure lots and lots of people have failed at least one thing in their time in medical school, and that's okay. But what you won't find people doing is talking about it quite openly within medical school, and definitely not really on social media. I've not seen that at all, really. And what you end up finding is that creates this sort of illusion that everything in medical school and everyone in medical school is doing incredibly well. And it can really give you a distorted view of what medical school is actually like. We're not always winning. We're not always studying 100-hour work weeks. I love you, Faye, but that was a ridiculous video. Not in a bad way, just I don't think I could ever do 100 hours ever again. And I think she also came to the same conclusion that I would have, that it's not sustainable. But anyways, yeah, working 100-hour weeks and just passing everything first time with flying colors. That's not the case for most of us. A lot of us believe that life is linear. From the beginning to the destination, a lot of us think that it's just a linear line, but obviously life isn't like that. Life's gonna happen. Things are gonna happen, whether in your personal life or in your academic life or in your business life, whatever you might be dealing with. And it's gonna cause things to go a little bit off kilter every now and again. And that's common knowledge, but I don't see it being talked about enough. When you actually take a step back and look at the trend, obviously as life is going up and down, hopefully you would think that the general trend goes up. But for a lot of us, when we're in that one of those dips like I am in now, it can really feel like life is going completely the wrong way and that all hope is lost and everything's going wrong. And I think that all of these different factors can really create a really toxic environment within medical school and within life, really. Anytime you see on social media everyone's winning and everyone's like succeeding here, starting a new business here, getting an award here and there, and not posting about the times where things have gone absolutely wrong, it doesn't help with your own self-confidence when you see that as a person. And because of this, I am sure a lot of us, especially high achievers, are incredibly afraid of failure. I know I am, and I remember the very first time that I failed something in medical school, I literally didn't know what to do with myself because I'd never really properly failed something before. And no one really spoke about it, and I didn't really get to speak to anyone about it. So I just spent a lot of time feeling incredibly dumb. Imposter syndrome came in, and I spent years feeling like I didn't deserve to be in medical school. But it doesn't have to be that way. If you actually take a second to think about it, failure is just an opportunity to learn. It's a really rubbish opportunity in terms of how you feel about it, but an opportunity nonetheless. And I would argue failure isn't even really the important part, but how you get up from it. You'll always hear this phrase, medicine is a marathon, not a sprint. But what does it actually mean? And if we think about it, a marathon is a race. It's incredibly long, it's incredibly difficult, and not everyone finishes it. But the people who do finish the race will often tell you that there was a time that they felt they couldn't go any further. And that happens at multiple times during the race. But what separates the people who actually finish the race versus the people who gave up at any point during the race is resilience. And I think resilience is a really, really important characteristic that a lot of us need to be talking about more. Now, what does resilience mean? So I went to go look up the dictionary definition, and I found out the definition of resilience is the ability to recover quickly from difficult things. And I really like that definition because that's exactly what we all should be doing. In life, you're going to go through a multitude of difficult situations, but the most important part of it is how you get up from that situation and move on. This isn't time bound, by the way, so if it takes you a little bit longer than others, you shouldn't be comparing yourself first of all, but it doesn't matter how long it takes you, it just matters that you get up. The most important thing is that you pick yourself back up and you finish your race. So now we're going to talk about it. So you failed something. Now where do we go from here? The first thing I'd say is allow yourself to be sad about it. Failing sucks. It sucks so hard. Anyone who's ever failed anything will tell you it's the worst feeling in the world, especially when you've worked really, really hard on something. But that's okay. It's okay to be sad about it. Take as long as you need and just be sad. Order yourself takeaway, cry. Talk to someone that you trust, and if you're anything like me, overshare on the internet. I'd also recommend some journaling. I always say that journaling has been one of the things that helps me process my emotions the best, but the most important thing here is you allow yourself to feel those negative emotions and allow yourself to work through those emotions, because if you don't, it's not going to solve the issue and you're going to find yourself just ignoring your feelings, and that's not good for anyone. Okay, so you finished crying, now what? Well, now it's time for your logical brain to take over. You gotta start thinking, okay, what actually went wrong? What caused me to fail in this situation? This isn't always an easy question to answer, but it's important that you think about it nonetheless. So for example, if it was a test that you failed, have a look at feedback if you have access to that, and think about what areas in particular you did worst in, what areas that you think you could have improved on, and even areas that you did well, so you know where to focus your time and energy. So for me, I had a look at the PSA exam feedback. They don't tell you exactly what questions you got wrong, but it's split into 8 different areas, and I had a look, and it looks like the place I did worst in was where half the marks were, which was the actual prescribing and prescription review, which I think I got less than 20% in those sections, which is horrendous, but it was good to let me know that, okay, that's where I need to focus most of my energy. So now you finished evaluating, you want to then make an action plan. Now this plan has to be practical for you, however that's going to look. This is also easier said than done. If you're still in your feelings, don't go to this step. You want to make sure that you finished feeling sad and that, you know, all those feelings that you had have been processed, because if you're in your feelings, you can't do anything logical really. You're just gonna cry your way through. As I said earlier, the most important thing about failing is taking that opportunity to evaluate and do better in the future. So this might look like creating a new study plan or focusing on the areas that you thought about in step 2, or it might just look like doing things in a completely different way. And that's really hard to come to terms with, but sometimes you will have to just completely do a 180 on things, and that's okay. As I said before, the most important thing is you've recognized it, you've picked yourself back up, and you're moving forward with it. I remember once one of my favorite YouTubers, Patricia Bright, said, "If I'm going to fail, I'm gonna fail fast." I'm paraphrasing, but you get the idea. I have a retake for this exam in 2 weeks, and I've, finished feeling sorry for myself, and I'm back on studying for it, and hopefully this time round it goes well. So that's the video. I hope you guys found it useful. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching this far, and like and subscribe if you would like more videos like this. But yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!